and it kind of leaves off where I mentioned earlier, because yes, because like I said, they're not going to want to subtract the character from the MCU, especially one as revered and loved as Falcon. Everyone loves Falcon. Everyone loves Red Wing. Part of that is because Anthony Mackie does such a great job portraying him, but because Falcon's a good character. He's one of those guys that, if you look at most of these heroes, they don't really kill people or they don't really hurt people. They hurt them enough to like knock them out. But you're going back to watching even Civil War. I mean, Falcon uses guns. He'll shoot people. He'll kill people. He's not just out here, like throwing them into a truck and leaving them for injured or knocking them out unconscious and walking away. And I think people kind of, like that in a hero sometimes. Someone who's like, okay, these are the bad guys. Let's eliminate the bad guys. And I think that Falcon's he's one of the favorite guys. So if you're going to make him Captain America and bring in Torres as his replacement, keep Falcon alive, I think that's not a bad theory at all. Pat, what do you got?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I like that a lot.
Do you guys think that John Walker won't get any repercussions from this? Because there'll be some people, like if it was like in real life, there'll be some people saying, "Oh, Captain America did the right thing because the Flag Smashers are terrorists and stuff like that."
So that's
both sides,
right? So that's the huge question, and I think that's where you would assume that they're going to have to broach this subject next. And S has a theory in the comments too that I'm going to address. But this, I think, is the quintessential question of this series moving forward: is how does the U.S. government or the GRA, Global Repatriation Association, I don't know, whatever the last letter is, how do they respond to him doing this in public? Right? Yes, it was on a terrorist. Yes, it was someone that is wanted, but he was basically there like, don't kill me, I didn't do anything wrong, and he killed him in cold blood right in front of everyone.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, so GRC.
Now he's part of the Sokovian Accords now too, Pat.
Right. So that's the other part of it. So, there's a lot of questions there about how are they going to respond to it. And then he's taking the serum. If they say, give us the shield back, and he says no, well, now how does he become does he go on the run? So there's a lot of questions about
U.S.
that.
agent.
Right. And so there's so many questions about how that's going to play out. Is that storyline going to kind of go that direction? So that's really fascinating thing.
It's not just how it's handled by the government and the GRC either. It's also how the people. How are the people? Because you'll have people that will support the Flag Smashers and their movement, and even if you don't support the Flag Smashers, people love to hate America, and he represents America for all intents and purposes, and he killed an unarmed man who was pleading for his life. And then you have people, from like Alabama or whatnot, who will be like, "Well, he was a terrorist," or and this and that. And you'll have those type of people that he should have killed more of them if he could. So also see how it's received by everybody.
Also, I heard that during the reshoots they had to cut out some parts about some Flag Smashers and that lady Donya or whatever.
Right.
It was a plot where something, but it was too closely related to the coronavirus, so they had to cut it out. That's why some of the Flag Smasher parts are weird, edited.
Oh, so it was a virus thing or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. So
I could definitely see that.
It is interesting, and so one thing that S touched on in the chat was that Battlestar not being dead, and this question I think was interesting. Kind of relates to the last point that he made about John not necessarily getting the serum from the one he picked up, but from the power broker or someone else. If Lamar is still alive, right? Battlestar is still alive. Maybe he says, "Hey, if we can get this serum into him, it can heal him," right? And so there's supposedly, right? We talked about this already. There might be 3 vials bouncing around somewhere. If the power broker was able to get those 3 vials before she took them or somehow get them back from her, perhaps he's like, listen, give him a vial of this, save his life, and I'll do whatever you want. And now he becomes kind of the muscle for the power broker or some other faction or whatever. So that may not happen, but it certainly could. So
Also, I have one thing. Do you think Carly Morgenthau is related to the power broker? Because remember that text that she got? It's like, "Oh, I'm coming after you. I'm coming to kill you." Do you think she wants to take down her father for being like, I don't know, something? Just
Interesting theory. I
Possible.
mean, until we know more about this version's power broker, it's hard to say. But I definitely think it's a possibility. Mauricio, thanks for coming up, man. Appreciate it. Make sure you come back next Monday. Before we do wrap up, I do want to bring Emily up, Pat, because she's been dropping hard facts and knowledge this entire time. So I want to get her take on everything, and just, the people that are listening can't read what she has in the chat, but I just want her to expand on some of her thoughts there because she's been dropping gold.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just mostly been about like how the storyline of John Walker is like a life imitator, art imitates life, imitates art situation of, this war hero, decorated soldier, who honestly is a very, very broken person and conflicted about the things that he had to do, but he got medals for them. And when it comes to the conversations that people have had about like the serum enhances everything of what you like, all of what you are. The one thing that is different about one thing that's different, but about him versus Steve Rogers is, Steve, people were trying to knock him down all the time, but he wasn't broken when he took the serum. Like, John Walker's already a broken man. He's already conflicted about the things that he had to do in the battlefield. And then if he takes the serum, or if he already did, those things are already like enhancing inside of him. And so I think if he already has taken the serum, like we saw that happen when he just killed a man with Captain America's shield in front of tons of people with cameras. But, when it comes to the idea of like American exceptionalism, deciding what is best for everyone, I mean, that's kind of what the Global Repatriation Council thing is doing. It's deciding like this major event happened in the world, but we know what's best for you. And so we're just going to like assert our dominance over what's going to happen now that all these people are back in the world. Which is why I'm so curious of what happened over the 5 years, like after the blip. Because, obviously there are people like Carly and the other members of the Flag Smashers who say that like life was easier, it was better, in certain ways. And now that these people have come back, we feel displaced, which is why I kind of brought up the whole concept of like when she and Sam were talking to each other, he called them refugees and she said, no, we are internationally displaced persons. We were kicked out of our homes. We were told we couldn't stay where we were. And those, like, I encourage everyone to kind of look up the difference between those two terms when it comes to why people leave their homes, because that's a really important distinction between the two. But it's just fascinating how they've subtly just been injecting the storylines that we hear about people all the time of like, venerated war heroes who come home and are glad to be home and, gracious in accepting these honors, but also so conflicted over what it took to receive them in the first place, and the decisions that they had to make in the moment, and decisions that we're seeing John Walker make right now. Not to say that he's, a perfect person by any means, but clearly he's broken, and now he's being put in this position to make really huge decisions for something that I don't think he totally understands, which, he had this blind trust in the military, I guess, as a soldier. I've never been in the military, so I can't really speak to what that feels like, if it really is that way, but from on the show, that's kind of what it seems like. And he's acting as if, he has blind trust in the GRC and the American government now. And he clearly doesn't want to hear that there's a lot that he doesn't know. So,
I mean, listen, it's all good points, all great points. And you're right. I think it does. It points to what's going on now in our country and in the world, and what's been going on really for a long time. That the people that are in power decide what they want to do, and then obviously the blip happens, and then the power kind of changes hands, and everything's kind of thrown for a loop. And when that happens, then these people, now the world isn't necessarily a better place, but these people that have been forgotten about, that no one cares about, all of a sudden have a place that they can be. And, they're not bothered by anyone. And now all of a sudden we go back to the way we were, and the same people that were in power before, go back into power, and they basically say, we don't care about any of you, where, we just do whatever the hell we want again. And, it is an interesting look at kind of what happens in the world. Like, that's what happens in the world. So,
I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. Like, we're coming out of this pandemic, and people are saying, well, do we have to go back to everything being exactly the way it was? Like, I don't know if I necessarily, in certain like tiny ways, like, I don't know if I want to go to a spin class in a room with people like sweating and panting all over the place right near me. Like, that's a very, very teeny tiny, like, not consequential example.
Emily,
but like,
I got a code for you, Emily. $100 off of Peloton, man. I'm telling you.
I already have it.
Oh, there you go.
I'm already in the
Never
mess.
mind.
But like, I mean, those are questions people are asking about our world right now in real time too.
Right.
And to go back to your point, Emily, as well, about him being a soldier, and being the blind soldier, and now the blind for the GRC. We heard that from Bucky and Sam, when they're like, you have things you need to go through. We kind of operate in the dark, and whatever. So he's still playing good soldier. Well, Bucky and Sam are. I mean, Bucky got arrested because he dipped out on his therapy, on his court mandated therapy sessions, because he went and was operating in the dark and didn't tell anybody where he was going or what he was doing. So I think that's definitely right. And the way you guys mentioned these displaced people with nowhere to go because all this happened, it reminds me of a country. Reminds me of a country called Latveria. And if you know what I'm talking about when I say Latveria, if these people decide, if this country becomes made for these people to go to that have no place to go, we could start to see a slight introduction. And I don't know if it's going to be teased at the end of this, but as maybe a way to give these people a place to go. Anyone Latveria? Anyone? I see S in the comments.
Tell the people, Josh. Who comes from Latveria?
Latveria is Dr. Doom.
Oh, baby.
It's a fictional nation that he pretty much built, where he lives. It's Latveria, and all these displaced people could end up in this country, in this nation, and that could be the start of Dr. Doom as we know it.
Oh, there's a lot of different ways that we can go here. A lot of different ways. So we're gonna
that for the end.
We will save that for the end. Hey, listen, one more thing. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so much for coming up. Mauricio, thank you. Emily, thank you. S came up, thank you. Max came up as well, and wasn't there someone else? There was someone else, right?
Mauricio, T-Mac.
T-Mac, that's who it was. Yep. So thank you, everyone, for coming up. Really appreciate it. It was a great conversation. I will say we've been talking about Falcon and Winter Soldier for an hour, but I've been watching Invincible on Amazon Prime. If you haven't watched that yet, you need to watch it. That comes out on Fridays as well. So that's going to be really, really interesting. So, and S is pointing out too that the mask Flag Smashers wear. Oh baby, oh boy,
somewhat similar. Oh man,
ooh,
I cannot wait for Fantastic Four. If that'd be one way for them, because they had already had. Did they acquire Fox?
Yeah, they have. Yep, they have announced they're doing a Fantastic Four movie. Yep.
No, but had they acquired Fox prior to them filming?
Yes.
I mean, it's something easy too to add on to the end,
Right.
But
They had that. This was like that. Next, this Phase 4 is going to bring in Fantastic Four and X-Men. We think, at least, is going to bring those characters in. So
that'd be an amazing teaser. But I want to thank everyone for obviously coming in here, supporting it. Everyone who's going to listen to this. If you're not on the Locker Room app, make sure you get here. Unfortunately, it's only for iOS, but Android's coming soon. But you can come in here. ask questions, and talk MCU, and we'll eventually expand this to DCU and everything.